Wait, will the solution for this epic, dense, grey, and morally complex story be the power of friendship? I've seen people debating whether or not MAPPA is doing a good job with Eren's expressions in the series so far, and whether or not they intentionally changed Eren's facial expressions to make him seem more human and less psychopathic. There is a lot of discussion regarding Eren as a villainous protagonist character, the validity of his courses of action, his consciousness while making his decisions, and how detached from humanity truly is, as he went forward with the rumbling. So here is my perspective as an anime only of Eren's character so far. Eren is pretty consistent in his course of action. At this point of the story, right as the rumbling starts, he is fighting for one thing: the survival of his race. Clearly his plan isn't the most righteous, nor is it the one with the least setbacks overall. His intention and line of thought is, at the very least, consistent with how we saw him at the beginning of the series, however. Eren saying he hates Mikasa and shunning his friends was, from what I gather, nothing more than a front. A mask necessary for him to get closer to Zeke as he distanced himself from his friends, and therefore bearing the moral responsibility of making such an insanely morally questionable decision. It's the pain of a mere human bearing the powers akin to a god's. So, looking at these manga panels from different points of the story, Eren certainly looks less humane than in the anime to me. More robotic, colder, and even soulless, honestly. His expressions in the anime point more towards there still being a glimpse of humanity inside him. Obviously, not knowing how his character arc will be concluded, all I'm basing myself off now is Eren's actions up until episode 80, as well as the opening and ending songs of Final Season Part 2, which paint him as a tragic hero of sorts, who wished nothing but the best for everyone, but inevitably went down the dark path he is on from the very beginning of the story. Beyond killing all the Titans, beyond avenging his mother, Eren ultimately wished for a world without turmoil, with no suffering. With the realization that, regardless of the existence of the Titans, outside the walls, war and suffering was inevitable, he thoroughly justifies his actions in his head, and understandably so. In his mind, before knowing of the outside world, his heroic mindset had some basis. Humanity as a whole were the Eldians and the Eldians only, who were being oppressed by the Titans, which were the unquestionable evil. Therefore, killing all the Titans equaled peace. As Eren's understanding of the concepts of good and evil started to get foggier and foggier though, with his confrontations with the other shifters and the corrupt side of his own society up until the end of Season 3, he started to lose it. But not now. In Season 4, Eren doesn't have a shred of a doubt about how wrong his actions are. And that's because he realized how nothing that he could do in his position would be free of moral questioning. He is just the same as his enemies. While people on the internet want to rationally weigh the ups and downs of every possible plan and come up with the one with the least possible casualties, which is exactly what Zeke did, Eren has had enough of that. He thought of every possible scenario already, but at his core, his mindset is closest to that of an innocent child, robbed of nothing but his entire freedom. The freedom to spend a single peaceful day with his loved ones. And while euthanizing Eldians sounds very rational and level-headed indeed, Eren has come too far in his own story, in his own fate, to simply accept that there are these people outside the walls with whom he has to account for, totally outside his scope of reality. It's just too much. He now has the power to simply go back to the world he originally idealized. That one island with no Titans. A step further from evil, a step closer to the freedom he always pursued. Yuki Kaiji's performance as Eren in this path scene with Ymir showed me glimpses of the old Eren, one who passionately talks about everyone's freedom and accepts nothing less than that. He is the Attack Titan, the very title of the series, which is, in a way, the representation of Ymir's will to one day reach freedom. And in that sense, he was never truly free because his drive, his objective, his willpower, his mindset have always been limited to freeing himself and his people from the start. His purpose has been predetermined in a way. And this is also why it makes so much sense that Mikasa and Armin still believe in Eren's good intentions, despite the seemingly inhuman actions he decided to take, due to, in part, not even attempting to share such a burden with his loved ones. He is grabbing the knife and justifying his actions by saying he is merely protecting the ones he cares about. Having the founder and the attack titan inside of him, being trapped in such predetermined mindsets, memories and future predictions, the most logical thing to happen to any human under these circumstances would be to either lose the will to live or to become insensitive to the human experience. So rather than turning his good yet naive intentions of killing the bad guys into a thirst for power, he became desensitized towards his people. Hence, Eren is closer to an anti-villain, if anything, a character with heroic goals and virtues, who ultimately resorts to a moral means to reach his idealized objectives. Contrasting with a character like Light Yagami, for example, who went from killing people with apparently noble intentions in his mind to being consumed by power and justifying his own actions, Eren didn't become evil. He became desensitized, which makes him closer to a god than a broken human, which is what we see Light degenerating into. Eren is plenty conscious of his actions, whereas Light thinks of himself as a righteous god to justify his actions, despite acting out unquestionably evil thoughts and emotions. Eren is a character that, in retrospective, has been placed in such a terrifyingly convenient specific situation which only leads to doom, that it's become honestly hard to imagine any outcome than the one we are witnessing. The realization of the utopian scenario that such a naive child has always idealized, strived towards, and ultimately conquered, followed by a mind-shattering realization of the scale of the problem that was actually unfolding. Human nature itself. Eren didn't become evil. He simply saw something. A future where he probably reaches freedom, at least in his own twisted way. Because true freedom is an unrealistic scenario for both him as well as for any of the oppressed people in the world. Why not then take the ultimate power that has been imposed to him from the start and take responsibility for the reset of mankind? Coming face to face with the sheer complexity of human nature, the constant drifting in the spectrum between good and evil, he accepted everything, the tragic past, present and the future, and so concluded that the only mission he could bear was to keep moving forward. If you enjoyed anything in this video, let me know, and if you have any criticisms, I'd love to hear them. Follow me on Minimalist, Twitter, TikTok for more anime content. Thank you so much for watching, see you next video, stay awesome.